Vice President Kamala Harris just held a rally in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, only hours after a high school shooting in Georgia killed 4 students and injured many more. It's been a tragic, heartbreaking day in America, and we've had many like it, but Vice President Kamala Harris is really stepping up as a leader and helping guide the country through these wild times. In her rally, she wasn't afraid to be emotional, she wasn't afraid to be empathetic, and I think there are some must-watch clips that I really wanted to highlight. All that I ask is that you leave a like on this video. So in this first clip, Vice President Kamala Harris highlights how insane it is that parents have to send their kids to school not knowing if their kids will come home. Take a look at this clip.
So before I begin, I do want to say a few words about this tragic shooting that took place this morning in Winder, Georgia. We're still gathering information about what happened, but we know that there were multiple fatalities and injuries. And, you know, our hearts are with all the students, the teachers, and their families, of course. And we are grateful to the first responders and the law enforcement that were on the scene. But this is just a senseless tragedy on top of so many senseless tragedies. And it's just outrageous that every day in our country, in the United States of America, that parents have to send their children to school worried about whether or not their child will come home alive. It's senseless. It is. We've got to stop it. And we have to end this epidemic of gun violence in our country once and for all. You know, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way.
She's right, it doesn't have to be this way. And can I just point out the difference between Kamala Harris, a leader who is strong and empathetic, but at the same time can identify a problem and lay out the steps to remedy that issue, compared to somebody like Donald Trump, who is not a leader at all. I hate to do this, but I do want to play this clip of Donald Trump reacting to a shooting in Iowa a few months back during the caucuses, and his reaction just speaks a lot of volumes compared to VP Harris's. We have another clip of VP Harris getting emotional, but watch this.
It's just horrible to see that happening. That's just horrible. So surprising to see it here. But I have to get over it. We have to move forward. We have to move forward.
We have to get over it. We have to move forward. Every time Donald Trump is confronted with a tragedy like that, he says, we have to get over it. It is what it is. I take no responsibility. And he says that it's surprising to see this happen here, but it's really not. If he's been paying attention, school shootings have been on the up and up in America since Columbine, but really since 2011, it feels like there is a new one every single month. It is really an epidemic in America, and VP Harris is able to call that out. Watch this clip of VP Harris getting emotional, talking about the problem of gun violence in America.
One of the things that I asked every time I went to the auditorium, and it would be filled with these young leaders, students, and I'd ask them, raise your hand if at any point between kindergarten and 12th grade you had to endure an active shooter drill. And for the young leaders who are here who are raising their hand, I'm telling you, every time the auditorium was packed and almost every hand went up. You know, a lot of us, I'll speak about myself, you know, we had, well, I grew up in California, earthquake drills, we had fire drills, but our kids are sitting in a classroom where they should be fulfilling their God-given potential, and some part of their big, beautiful brain is concerned about a shooter busting through the door of the classroom. It does not have to be this way.
That's a really, really good quote. It doesn't have to be this way. And again, I want to highlight the difference between Kamala Harris's leadership and Donald Trump's lack thereof every time they're confronted with a tragedy. This is a must-watch clip of Tim Walz on the campaign trail today, hyping up a room full of people like the coach that he is.
This is going to be door-to-door, phone call to phone call. It's going to be engaging people who it is a deliberate effort by some people to make them believe that our political system is broken, to make them believe that things are pessimistic. My God, every time I hear Donald Trump give a speech, it's like the next screenplay for Mad Max or something. They're rooting against America. They do not believe in the exceptionalism of this country. They do not believe in the people who built this country. They simply want to complain about them. And by you coming here and talking neighbor to neighbor, that's what inspires people. My wife always talks about this. She said, I don't read the paper to see the movie reviews. I ask people that I know what they think about it. And they tell me that's the same thing that's going on here. And I think all of you in this room, it's not hyperbole to say This election could very well hinge on this county here and this field office here and the folks that we get out. That is an awesome responsibility, but it's also an awesome opportunity.
Well said from Tim Walz, really Coach Walz at this point. It's actually Governor Walz, but amazingly said. I really like the line where he says every Donald Trump speech is like the screenplay for a Mad Max movie, because I always say Donald Trump uses apocalyptic rhetoric, and he does talk about how we are a failing nation. He acts like we are a wasteland, when in reality, America is a beautiful country that has problems that can be solved, and that just brings me back to Kamala Harris, who wants to solve these problems, who knows how to solve these problems. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has these authoritarian instincts that he can't get away from. I've come to the conclusion that authoritarianism is just in his blood, because every time he talks about the Constitution, he wants to overwrite it, whether it's the First Amendment and burning American flags, or terminate it, all of the rules, laws, and regulations found in the Constitution, which he has said before. And then when it comes to January 6th, he tried to subvert democracy in 100 different ways leading up to that date. And then on January 6th, that was his final move. He tried and he failed, and 4 years later, he is still whining about it. So this man, who is hardwired to be an anti-democratic thug, cannot be voted back into office, compared to VP Harris, who is empathetic, strong, and a great leader. Take a look at this clip of Donald Trump on Lex Friedman yesterday.
Just months before the 2024 election, Donald Trump has finally admitted that he did, in fact, lose the 2020 race to now President Joe Biden.
And I became president. And then the second time, I got millions more votes than I got the first time. So I was told if I got 63 million, which is what I got the first time, you would win. You can't not win. And I got millions of more votes than that, and lost by a whisker.
Lost by a whisker. We should note, of course, that Donald Trump's lies about the 2020 election fueled the January 6th attack on the Capitol, as well as multiple state and federal indictments. Joining us now.
That is an understatement that it just fueled it. Donald Trump's rhetoric has disenfranchised so many voters. He has gotten them to think that our electoral system is completely a sham. And who benefits the most from that? I think people like Vladimir Putin, people like Xi Jinping, people like Kim Jong-un, who want to see the U.S. destabilized, love to see American people, American citizens, not want to vote, not want to participate in their democratic elections, because Donald Trump has so successfully undermined all of the institutions around us. So all I have to say is go to vote.org, make sure you're registered, make sure your friends and family are registered. I am holding a voter registration event in Wisconsin early October. You can meet me there, and we go door to door, knocking on doors, registering voters like Tim Walz was talking about in this clip. So I hope to see you there to help save our democracy from this authoritarian threat, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.